Hey, welcome in, welcome back, everybody. Good morning. We're going to talk about these energies coming out the collective for July the 2nd. We're going to break down this deeply layered energetic portal that really is opening up a gateway for some pretty profound healing and emotional karmic truths connected to the divine feminine collective, especially truths supporting this this turnaround of our personal power and clearing our ancestral lineage and that reclamation of that divine feminine energy. So I'm going to break it down archetypally and astrologically, and I'm going to break it down for both the collective and individually. And so there's some key aspects at play here. We're going to go deep, but let's talk about the main transit today, which is the Sun in Cancer, Trine Lilith in Scorpio. And so these tarot archetypes really are bringing forward, with the Sun in Cancer, the tarot archetype of the Wheel of Fortune and the Chariot. And Lilith in Scorpio is activating the archetypes of the Ten of Cups and the Death card, right? That scorpionic death energy. And so this trine really is a beautiful, soulful portal of emotional empowerment, right? But we do have to go through the depths of the shadow connected to the 4th house, and there's some alchemy there, and there's some inner truths there connected to some deep ancestral roots. We can see the Sun still in that conjunction to Jupiter, sitting in the 12th house. That conjunction is pretty wide though at this point in time, and it's in that trine, like I said, to Lilith in Scorpio, which is sitting in the 4th house of Libra. And so there's an alchemy of this inner truth connected to this ancestral healing, right? And so right now we're in this portal gateway of a lot of karmic closures, and there's going to be this reclamation of the divine feminine archetype that is being birthed this year. And especially if you find yourself where you have probably been silenced or even distorted in that feminine archetypal energy. And so the Sun in Cancer is illuminating, right? The Sun illuminates, and it's illuminating something connected to our deep ancestral roots, our emotions, which is connected to the mother line 222 on the timer as I'm looking up. And so there is a choice, I feel, being presented. A choice, right? Where we can go towards our soul's desire, which is usually connected to safety, emotional honesty, and nourishment with the Sun in Cancer, right? There's that illumination. But then we've got this very deep, raw, primal, feminine energy of Lilith and Scorpio at play, sitting in the 4th house, which is drudging up these taboo truths connected to where we suppressed our sexuality and where we've played into these power dynamics. That is all connected to these deeply rooted ancestral woundings, okay? And so this is really a portal activating the divine feminine, stepping into the archetype of her divine feminine sovereignty. And so this trine really is opening up a portal of healing today between that inner child, that Sun in Cancer, and the primal feminine, Lilith and Scorpio. And so we're being invited to come home to ourselves. That's what this energy really is asking of us, to come home to ourselves, to alchemize the body, the pleasure, the deep intuitive knowing, and to really ground in the walking of the path of the mystic, the shaman, the grounded healer, and that divine feminine embodiment, okay? And so we've got some supporting aspects and many layers to this energy today. So I'm going to break down the supporting aspects and layers connected to the Sun, because we do have the Sun in that square to the Moon in Libra. And so the Moon in Libra in this square to the Sun is creating this very intense internal tug of war. And this is a tug of war, I feel, between our emotional needs, that Cancerian energy, and that relationship harmony that we all seek connected to the Moon in Libra, okay? And so there's likely going to be some type of internal conflict. They're showing me the 5 of Wands connected to how we assert ourselves, how we assert our truth. You see the Sun and Jupiter sitting there in that 12th house. The 12th house is the house of karma. This is the house of spirituality. This is the house of deep subconscious roots and patterns. And then with Lilith in the 4th house connected to our own ancestry, our own lineage, and those roots, this is really deep. So there's going to be realizations, I feel, over the coming days connected to codependencies and people-pleasing tendencies, right? Where maybe you've suppressed your needs in partnership for fear of expressing what it is that you want or you need, for fear of rejection. And so when we are codependent, we will play into people-pleasing tendencies. Codependencies come in many forms, right? And so there's this tarot archetype of the Sun in Cancer, bring forward the Chariot with the archetype of justice with the Moon in Libra. And so there really is this invitation as well being activated with the Sun in a sextile to Mars. Mars is how we take action. We've got Mars in Virgo. It's also in a sextile to Priapus in Taurus. And so this is an invitation, right? Sextiles are invitations to take action from the heart, to align with our embodied desires, right? And so Priapus is the desire of the body. It's linked to that sensuality and that soul longing. I always find Priapus to be the shadow manifestation of the masculine collective. And so I just feel this is powerful manifestation energy if we can align with our authentic self-expression and take that grounded action towards that embodiment. And so this is encouraging creative action. It really is. But it has to be based in our deep inner truths. We've got Priapus in the 10th house, opposite the 4th house, right? And so that 13 degrees 40, there's this quality of death, Page of Cups. We have to unearth that childhood wound. I think of pages, I think of childhood. There's deep emotional wounding here, connected to childhood, connected to the masculine collective as well, connected to an identity wound here that needs to be dredged up, right? And so how can you take that inspired action towards healing? Because I do feel a quality of like the Chariot, the Strength card, and the Empress. It takes great strength to go towards an Empress as an unhealed masculine, right? Or as a masculine in needing of healing still. So with the Sun still in that conjunction to Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter is expanding this emotional landscape of this healing portal. And this is a very spiritual healing journey being activated in these energies today. And so this really can be a day of miracles, especially connected to these emotional breakthroughs, right? Forgiveness is another energy that I feel is being activated, and our ancestral connections to our crossed over loved ones. And so there is a lot of intuitive wisdom being activated within the collective. And I do feel this is like a divinely timed portal, because I was shown the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess. And so when we break down the layers connected to Lilith, we have Lilith also in that trine to Jupiter and Cancer. And so this is deepening that channel of the feminine, that feminine spiritual channel of energies, right? Where it's amplifying what I want to say is the womb wisdom, where we honor our raw emotions, our emotional sacredness of whatever has been repressed. And so Lilith can deal with rage, feminine rage. And so this is the ancestral mother line, the feminine lineages that were clearing, connected to past life feminine wounding. And all of this is likely going to be surfacing for that next level of the healing journey. And so this really is an ideal portal to do a sacral chakra womb clearing. We're doing the shadow integration through the womb chakra. So we have to invoke those sacred feminine guides, connect with Mary Magdalene, connect with Lilith, connect with Kali, connect with Isis. These are all feminine archetypes where we are healing the collective through these archetypal feminine energies. We have Lilith in a sextile to Mars and Virgo as well. So this is where the feminine taps into that embodied precision. Virgo is a very precise zodiac archetype. And this is all about sacred action, sacred service action, okay? And so when we align our wild inner feminine energy with the practical path of healing, then we are grounding in a healthy sense of body image. We're grounding in a healthy sense of creative purpose, okay? And so there is going to be a lot of rage becoming, and then we're going to have to refine that becoming rage, okay? And so there is this energy that is being channeled into sacred service, I feel, for the feminine with this portal activation. And then we do have Lilith in a square to Mercury in Leo, which is in the pre-shadow retrograde energies. Forget the exact date that it's going retrograde, but about mid-July it will be going retrograde. And so this is going to activate those shadow truths, right? Mercury in a very fixed sign of Leo. There's going to be a fixed belief here, or a shadowy fixed truth here. And it's going to come out through expression, likely expressions of confrontation. So be warned, this will also lead to a beautiful creative release, okay? And so there's going to be friction. I do feel Mercury in Leo is creating friction of this egoic self-expression in conflict with this soul level truth, okay? And we do see Mercury sitting there. And it is sitting there, if I can find it on the wheel, in the first house. So there is an energy of the Lovers and the Two of Cups quality. And with that first house being at 29 degrees 59 Cancer, there is the completion of this Five of Swords cycle. And I did notice 11:11 on the timer. And so there's going to be a lot of clashes, especially if you've not been speaking your truth for fear of rejection. This really is a powerful portal, I want to say, of writing, of journaling, of speaking and creating from that raw authenticity. So a lot of the themes surrounding the collective today and over the coming days is definitely connected to that ancestral feminine reclamation, okay? Where we're healing these generational patterns of being silenced, generational patterns of shame, and this powerlessness connected to the feminine line. There's this sacred sovereignty being activated within the collective, where we do reclaim our voice, we reclaim our intuitive knowing, and there's creative alchemy at play, right? Because trines do create a portal gateway of opportunities. And so when we channel our intense emotions and we turn it into art, we turn it into writing, we turn it into ritual, we turn it into movement, then we are creating something out of these negative emotions and turning it into something positive, which then equates to emotional empowerment, right? We aren't here to repress these deep-seated emotions. We're here to release them and then to channel them appropriately and to turn it into art, okay? And so courage is going to meet boundaries, I feel, this week in these energies, where we act from that truth. And so you could use sound bath and breath work to integrate the womb and root chakra healing that we are going through, mindful movement to clear these very dense, heavy emotions that are being activated, and to really connect with and talk to that inner child. Write a letter to your inner child. Write a letter to your ancestors. Connect to your ancestors. Give voice to what has been left unsaid. A lot of us repeat the patterns of our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and we are the ones activating the breaking of these generational ancestral curses, so to speak. You're never truly cursed, but we do have to honor the divine feminine, invoke the divine feminine through connection to Lilith and Kali and Magdalene and Isis. And we have to speak our truth, even if our voice shakes. We're here to speak our truth. And with Mercury in that square to Lilith, this is a major clearing and activation of the divine feminine throat chakra, okay? So move your body, especially if you're feeling dense. Keep moving. Go for nature walks. Do those sound baths. Do those water baths. Do that breath work. Do that meditation, because we are in a deeply emotional activation portal. And I do feel water signs, you're going to be feeling this spiritual opening, especially if you have any water placements in the big three. Fixed signs, of course, you're going to be feeling it with the fixed energies. And so there's going to be major shifts around personal identity And there's going to be a lot of shadow work for those fixed sign placements. And of course, Libra and Virgo are going to be affected because there's that tension between harmony and truth with those two zodiac archetypes, and there's refinement of the rawness, okay? And so basically this is a blending portal of water, fiery expression, primal feminine resurrection is really what this is activating in these energies today. And so we can't keep spiritually bypassing. When we bypass our emotions, or when we choose to keep playing it small, then we're not really in the energy of reclaiming our wild feminine power. And so bring it to the altar, give it to God, surrender it to God, take that bold, heart-led action and root that in emotional integrity. Because whether you resonate as a twin flame or as a divine feminine, this is an activation of a new timeline. We're stepping into a new timeline of truth, of healing, of accountability, and inner union. This is all about the inner union of the feminine and the masculine. When we embrace our sacred rage, when we embrace our pleasure, when we embrace our power, and when we let go of the old world that we were told to live in fear in, then we can truly embody that divine feminine reclamation. So let's go a little bit further with the oracle and the tarot cards, and we'll see what the cards have to say. If you would like to learn a little bit more about your personal birth chart and following along with the astrology, I do have a free guide. Comment down below, free guide. It's the 15 basics of understanding your birth chart. If you're curious, there will be a comment down below. Just comment free guide and I will send you the free downloadable link for that guide. Also, I have written a 22-page twin flame ebook about the journey as a whole, the stages, the phases, how to master them like a pro, because this is not just about romance at all. This is actually about mission work. So if you're curious about your twin flame, twin soul mission, comment twin flame book down below and I will send you that link. But let's get right into it with these cards and let's see what the cards have to say today. Let's jump right in because these cards do perfectly align with the astrological messages that I brought forward. So let's break it down, starting with the oracle messages. The first card out is the card of order in the forest. And so as you see on the card, there's a lot of green. So there is that heart chakra connection. There is a cleansing connected to the heart. There is this releasing of resentments. And it is also the card of making amends. It is an 11 card. So this does tie in with the energy of justice, balance, reconciliation. And when I say reconciliation, it does not mean a getting back together with somebody. It is reconciling all of these energies, these resentments, this unforgiveness, right? And so because this card aligns with the justice archetype, there is a reflection of karmic rebalancing, I feel, being activated. This is connected to the Cancer Scorpio trine, where we are encouraged to release and cleanse this emotional residue. And we do that by confronting the past betrayals and releasing the burden of resentment connected to any past betrayals, right? And who hasn't been betrayed? I think we all have in some way, shape, or form throughout our lives. And so that sun square moon energy really is reflecting that tension between the inner emotions and that relational piece, right? And so I do feel this card is suggesting that true balance is going to come from facing this emotional truth. It's never going to come from avoiding it. And we can't avoid conflict. It's a part of reconciliation and resolve. And so I do feel the collective message for this card is really, it's a time of clearing the emotional clutter, forgiving what you can, speaking truth where you need to, and creating that sacred space for the new path. As an individual integration message, I do feel this is about making amends, even if symbolically, maybe you need to do an energetic cord cutting or journal about what needs to be released from your family lineage or past relationships, okay? And then we go right into the color blue, throat chakra activation, and it is serenity out of exile. It is a 1 card, so there is magician energy. There is manifestation through surrender. We do see the full moon energy. We are coming up on a full moon in Capricorn. I believe it is July the 10th. We're still a little bit a ways away, but I do feel this card is asking us to exhale, to surrender, and to get to a place of radical acceptance, right? There are just some things in life that we can't change. And so I do feel, because of the magician archetypal energy coming through, there's manifestation power. But we do have to unlock that after we surrender the ego control, right? And so there's an activation of some mental tension is what this feels like, where the truth does truly want to be expressed, but that ego still might be resisting that throat chakra activation, right? And so this really is a call for radical self-acceptance. That really is the key to unlocking your personal power. And so you don't need to fix, you don't need to perform your healing journey. Presence, being truly present in the now moment, that is your superpower, right? And so individually, you're being asked to breathe, do that breath work, let go of the mental noise. Meditation will help with that. Accept everything that is happening in the now moment, right? And that does require speaking your truth, but we don't speak our truth for validation. You should never be speaking your truth for any type of external validation, but we do this as an act of energetic release, okay? Then we go right back to the green. All of the green connected to the heart. And so speaking your truth is a way out of the weeds. This is a way out of the weeds. And I do feel an undertone of a King of Cups energy. Could be a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, masculine energy coming through. And I also feel a hint of Mars and Virgo energy. And so in order to clear the way forward, we do have to get organized. We do have to speak our truth. There is an embodied divine masculine energy coming through with this card today. This is emotional maturity. There's a calmness amidst any chaos. In this card's energy, there's spiritual leadership energy coming through. And there is a Mars and Virgo activation happening with that Lilith and the Sun energy. And so I do feel this card really is serving as an affirmation, is what it feels like. Almost like an affirmation that actions have to be grounded in precision and in purpose, right? We can't be scattered all over with our thoughts and our emotions. We can't be scattered in this overwhelm. We have to be grounded. And so at times it feels like we're lost in the forest, right? We can't see a way through the trees or through the weeds. But when we feel like we're lost, I truly believe we're just recalibrating our energy, right? And so the way forward is not through forcing anything, but it's through taking a step back and then realigning our actions and our intentions, right? And so maybe you need to make a list. Maybe you need to cleanse your space. Maybe you need to plan your next steps, right? Because we've got a lot of big energies in July going retrograde. Mercury's going to go retrograde. Neptune's going to go retrograde. And then Saturn's going to join in on the retrograde. And Chiron as well is going to join in on the retrograde in July. So big energy of planning, but maybe not quite taking those next steps. But we do have to anchor in our emotional insights, and we have to have that structured movement. And then the last card out was the true source of power. And so seeing red, I'm seeing red. So root chakra energy is pretty loud coming through with this card. And so true power, where does true power come from? It comes from divine will. It comes from integrity, and it's about power, not forcing, right? And so I do feel this kind of does tie in to the Lilith trine Jupiter in Cancer, and the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Cancer in the 12th house. And so there's like a moon archetype coming through. There's an echo here of emotional intensity. So there's probably going to be a release of some sacred rage. We do hold the sacred rage in the root chakra. There is an emotional intensity of energies coming through today connected to illusion, shadow, truth, power dynamics. There's something here I just feel like swirling beneath the surface connected to that root chakra. And so there is also this massive opportunity to step into soul aligned power, but we do have to choose. We have to choose truth over image, right? We can't protect a false image that we projected into our reality. And so this really is where the collective is being asked to distinguish what real power is connected to divine will from ego, control, or avoidance, right? So individually meditate and journal on that. Where are you leaking your power? I talk about it all the time. Where are you giving your power away? Where are you leaking your power? What truth is it that you're avoiding that really needs to be faced? And let's face it, the truth sets us free, but first it kind of pisses us off and it makes us pretty angry, right? And so what does power actually mean to you at a soul level, not based out of ego? So these are all things that kind of need to be worked through, I feel, in this energy today. And the bottom of the deck is just beautiful, right? Because I love this card. It's this and that are true. And it is connected to the archetype of the Nine of Wands, with it being a 35 card. And so there's a need for open-mindedness. There's a need for a perspective shift. You see somebody here is just barely above water. We see the red above. We see this expansion of consciousness and all of these emotions that are trying to be worked through logically, right? And then dropping into the throat, where we see the light codes activating the throat chakra, and we see all of this red and blue again, right? And so I just feel this card on the bottom of the deck kind of encapsulates the core teaching of these energies for the day, right? Duality, this and that are true. Both the inner child and the shadow are valid, right? We can be healing and be whole at the same time. We can be angry and we can be loving. This and that are true. We can be tired and we can also still be powerful. And so this is the wounded warrior's wisdom, right? This and that are true, where we no longer have to define our identity through that pain, but we can embody that expanded perspective, right? And so honor the gray areas in your life. It's not just black and white. The paradox of the journey is actually the portal. So when we soften our judgment, we are allowed to widen our views or our philosophical perspectives, right? And so individually let go of any rigid self-concepts, right? Allow the contradiction of this and that are true to live inside of you. Because let's face it, we're always evolving. And that does mean holding space for all of it, okay? Oh, and look at this. Every word has power. So higher education, the power of persuasion, communication, and what does it say? Internal dialogue. So there is a new beginning here, and it can be built on this heart-centered truth. But we have to understand that our words truly do hold power. So be mindful of the alchemy of poison, of the words that you speak to yourself. Are they true? Are they valid? Are they helpful? Or are they harmful? Okay, so let's break down the tarot spread row by row. I do feel the top row is kind of like what's present in the conscious awareness. The middle row here, I feel today, is kind of like the core or the heart of the matter, like this energetic engine of the reading. And the bottom row is going to be the subconscious forces, the shadow work, and what is being alchemized. Okay, so we'll break it down row by row. We have the Four of Cups, which is connected to Cancer energy. We have the Five of Wands, Leo energy, and the Eight of Coins, Virgo energy. And so there is this energy, I feel, of emotional dissatisfaction. And there could also be longing for something more, or longing for something from the past. This does speak directly to that Sun in Cancer Trine Lilith energy, I do feel, where there is a deeper truth here surfacing. And I do feel this energy of emotional complacency. And so that ain't going to cut it anymore. And so this is kind of like a moment in time before a divine emotional offer kind of appears. And there's an ego battle here for sure with the Five of Wands. And so there's an inner conflict creating external tensions, right? As within, so without. And so I do feel this is connected to the Sun square Moon, and the square between Mercury and Lilith. And so there's conflicting desires here too, right? And I also feel there could be conflicting desires around frustration. There's frustration. There's this energy of clearing stagnant energy. And then there's mastery as well on the other side. I feel like mastery through consistent effort. And so there is a mirroring of this Mars in Virgo energy, where we harness in that precision, right? That precision to heal. So to build, I want to say, and to refine. And I do feel there's gossip. So if you notice on this Eight of Pentacles card, you see the card up here in the corner. It is connected to, I believe, the Gilded Lenormand deck. And there's gossip. I feel there's gossip around a situation here. And I feel I'm talking to somebody that is very emotionally restless. It feels emotionally restless, or almost like a creative conflict. And we got to work through that, and we have to ground in that dedicated embodiment, right? And so I think somebody here really is learning that spiritual evolution requires daily practice and not just passion, right? So it does take daily practice. So let's talk about the middle row. The central energy is the Eight of Wands, and I do feel central energy of divine downloads with all of the doves on the card. So first card out, Empress, Venus energy, Taurus, Libra energy, Eight of Wands. We get Sagittarius, we get Mercury energy, and the Knight of Coins. So right in alignment with Earth energy, all on this last column. Very interesting. Grounded embodiment is what I just heard. And so this is divine feminine embodiment, very loud, very creative, very abundant. This is the core energy that is being rebirthed with this transit today of the Sun trine Lilith, right? That reclamation of sacred sovereignty and that sensual self-worth for the divine feminine. And so there's fast forward movement, there's accelerated ascension, there's divine downloads, there's soul communication, telepathic communication, and something here is moving very, very quickly. And this is aligning with manifestation and divine will. So stay grounded. There is steady, grounded progress coming through in these energies. And this does pair beautifully, like I said, with the Mars and Virgo energy, with the Eight of Coins above. And then we get the Palace of Coins below this Knight of Coins energy. And so a Knight of Pentacles, it doesn't rush at all. It ensures things are done right, with care and with integrity. And so I do feel there is a divine feminine here building something with slow and steady precision, care, and integrity. And so I do feel there is a divine feminine here being fully supported in birthing this new version of self while receiving the downloads very quickly. I feel there's an embodiment here that also requires patience, right? And so the Empress card is a reminder that creation is divinely timed, right? We give birth in divine timing, right? Okay, so let's break down the bottom row, which I feel is just what's being alchemized with all of the shadow work. And so the Knight of Wands reverse, fire energy, the Hanged Man, Piscean, Neptunian energy, and the Palace of Coins. This is manifestation space. This is earthly manifestation, earthly energy. This really is showing what is shifting deep within, the hidden work that is taking place, the internal battle, the new potential that is being birthed here. And so there is still some very impulsive, scattered energy. There also could be like blocked passion. And this is possibly due to some type of disillusionment or even like a spiritual burnout is what I'm feeling. There is definitely this connection to ego resistance. And that was seen in the Five of Wands up above, right? And so I do feel the Hanged Man is asking for surrender or to go into this ego death and to embrace the divine pause, right? The Hanged Man brings forward that new perspective and that spiritual pause before the rebirth. And the Palace of Coins is the potential. It's the overall potential of the reading for a new stable reality, right? And so it's the sacred temple of earth energy. It's basically like the Ace of Coins on steroids. But this first has to be built from that place of inner alchemy. And there's leadership energy here as well. And so passion is never lost, but something here really feels like it's being purified. We have to wait. We have to let go. We have to trust. We have to get into that place of surrender before that Palace of Coins can appear, right? Before that new timeline of stability, security, and divine manifestation can occur. So let's talk about the bottom of the deck, because this kind of all ties it all into this. I want to say the underworld initiation of the energies today. The Ace of Cups, the Tower, like, oh my goodness, and the Devil. And so this really is nothing short of a soul initiation. And so the Ace of Cups is the new emotional spiritual beginning. This is the heart cracking wide open. And the Tower is sudden destruction of the illusion and the ego, the false ego identity structures. And then the Devil is basically the confrontation of these toxic attachments, addictions, illusions of control. This does reflect that true source of power card up here, right? And then the Ten of Wands is that final push, right? The final push. And we know what that final push is like if you've ever given birth before the release. And so there is almost this element or this quality, I want to say, of spiritual exhaustion. I think I slept like 10 hours and 22 minutes last night. And so that spiritual exhaustion comes right before the rebirth. And so the collective right now is undergoing a very powerful heart-centered ego death. The Tower is shattering the old constructs tied to control and illusion of the Devil, right? Because we did have Pluto in Capricorn for about 16 years. Pluto is now in Aquarius and it's retrograde in Aquarius. And so there's this authentic emotional rebirth, making way for something very raw. And so I feel this message is saying, don't give up. Don't give up now, because we're almost through the thick of it. We're almost through the forest. We're almost through it. And so I do feel the divine really is activating this healing access. And this whole spread is all about reclaiming feminine truth, that Empress emotional healing from the emotional disconnect, aligning with divine will, aligning with the true source of power. And the Mars and Virgo energy, I feel, is supporting building the new foundation through devotion of service. And there's like inner conflict here connected to duality, because this and that are true, right? And we can have the devil versus the Ace of Cups energy coming together. And so we kind of have to go through this ego unraveling to release the emotional dissatisfaction, to awaken that divine feminine. And the conflict and the confusion leads us to sacred surrender, which then leads us to manifestation of a new reality. So get ready to confront your shadowy self in order to go through this emotional rebirth. And then we can ground in that new sense of spiritual leadership. So let's talk about the last two cards. And I love that the Chiron card came out, healing. And because we have Chiron going retrograde this month, this is huge. There's like a Two of Wands though. Healing is a choice. We all have a choice to heal the wounded parts of self. And I do feel they're going to be triggered by current events or a catalytic moment or person. It's going to trigger these old wounds. They're going to feel fresh. The memories are going to feel fresh. It's going to feel like this emotional scar tissue being ripped open. And the Chiron energy is reminding us, hey, healing is not linear. It's like the energy of shrapnel, right? The shrapnel that arises now is meant to be seen. It's meant to be honored. It's meant to be released. I do feel this connects to the Tower with the Ten of Wands energy, where there's that pressure and that emotional exhaustion of carrying the old pain. And we have to release it, right? Because when we carry the old pain, it leads to emotional stagnation. And this happens when we resist the call to feel these wounds fully, right? And so the gift here, though, with going into the shrapnel is our pain becomes our compassion in action. When we choose the path of healing, the Two of Wands, right? There's the Two of Wands energy here. We have to choose the path of healing. And so we're at a fork in the road collectively where we can keep guarding the wound or we can open it to the light. And I do feel the energy is supporting this alchemy of this pain into power with this transit today. And the bottom of the deck, the solar flares are activating it, right? And so I do feel tempers are going to be flaring. There's going to be impulses. There's going to be reactions. This is a reflection of the Five of Wands and the Knight of Wands in reverse. Ego flares, inner tension, competition, spiritual heat. The heat is on, I heard. The heat is on. And so the solar flares card kind of mirrors what's going on inside with the Five of Wands, this internal, I want to say voltage. It's going to be on high. There's going to be raw energy, but we need to direct it correctly, right? And so there is this energy of words can cut and words can catalyze. It's going to depend on the intention, right? And so there's going to be fast inspiration. It's going to be great, but if it's not grounded, it can lead to burnout. And so there's like a cosmic voltage from the universe. That's the gift here, where there's literal solar flare energy flooding the collective field to activate the new timeline, to activate the new purpose. But we have to use this energy to take those bold steps, to create something meaningful, to create something powerful, and to alchemize our fire into focused passion. And so this really is a moment to take into consideration the divine action you're being called to ground in. But you do have to stay grounded. You do have to stay grounded amidst the chaos. And so I feel collectively we're at a crossroads. That's really what this feels like, where the Chiron energy is asking us to sit with our pain and to choose the path of compassion and truth. And the solar flares card is challenging us to harness this fiery energy, to not express it or to not suppress it, and to not express it in an explosion, but to direct all of this energy very consciously, right? And so today's cosmic gateway portal is for emotional, physical, and energetic healing. But you have to slow down, right? With the Virgo energy, slow down. You have to slow down. And you have to feel it all, and you have to take it all in, and then you have to take embodied action. And so we can choose healing over reaction for sure. That's always going to be a choice. We can choose our presence over perfection, right? And in order to reclaim back our power, we do have to be in that truth. So there is an undoing here but it is going to lead to a rebirth. And that's kind of what I've got for a message today. If you would like to join me with a personal reading and go further on your path, do feel free to check out the links below to my webpage. I offer a variety of readings if that is something that interests you. If you're not quite ready for a reading, perhaps you need to consider some twin flame coaching or astrology coaching. And I also do have a membership side of the channel if you would like to join us over on the membership side. I do still pull into all 12 zodiac signs every Thursday at noon for zodiac sign specific messages if that interests you. But I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Thank you.